WrestleMania 17 took place on April 1st, 2001 in Houston, Texas. The event was one of massive success and has largely been considered the greatest pay-per-view in WWE history. The card was stacked from top to bottom, featuring 11 matches, headlined by Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock for the WWF Championship. The Rock benefited more than any other superstar on the roster after Austin missed a year of action in 2000 with a neck injury. The Great One ascended to a new level of stardom, which became something never before or since seen in wrestling. Two once-in-a-lifetime stars at their peak at the exact same time. Austin returned from injury in late 2000 and made his intentions clear from the start. He wanted to regain the WWF Championship, thus proving he still had what it takes to be the best. Austin became obsessed with regaining the richest prize in the business, so much so that the rattlesnake would seek the help of his arch enemy, Mr. McMahon. During the main event of WrestleMania 17, 67,000 in attendance in Austin's home state of Texas bear witness to one of the most iconic and polarizing moments in wrestling history. What a great event! WrestleMania 17 capped off with Stone Cold Steve Austin and Mr. McMahon shaking hands in allegiance after McMahon aided Austin to defeat The Rock. A sight that wrestling fans never thought they'd see had just happened. Austin and McMahon, their rivalry, a pillar of the Attitude Era, which helped WWE defeat WCW, were now working together? With 23 years of hindsight, this proved to be McMahon's grandest mistake from a creative perspective, as the moment would be the definitive end to the Attitude Era. With millions of fans tuning out of WWE and wrestling all together, that was it. The boom period of wrestling was over. This is the story of how Stone Cold Steve Austin's heel turn ruined wrestling. In hindsight, it may be confusing to most as to why Austin, the most popular wrestler ever, turned heel in the first place. It is important to understand a few things that provide context into the mind of the rattlesnake. Firstly, Stone Cold broke his neck in 1997 at the hands of Owen Hart after a botched tombstone piledriver. To avoid ruining the biggest push of his career, he put off having surgery on the neck during that time frame. Doctors had told Austin the neck injury would require surgery in the near future, and he'd have to change his wrestling style. Sure enough, by the fall of 1999, Austin, who now was the biggest star in the business, required neck fusion surgery, leading many to wonder if he'd ever lace his boots again. Back in 1999, wrestling was not quite like what it is nowadays. This was long before the days of part-time superstars, job security, and elite healthcare for wrestlers. Austin, much like the face of WWE prior to him, Hulk Hogan, was brought up with an insecure, don't trust anyone or anything frame of mind. Fears of being forgotten by the crowd led Austin to become increasingly paranoid. This led to steroid and alcohol abuse. These issues caused huge problems for Austin on a personal level, but that is a story for another day, or another one of my videos. Check it out. Not only was there paranoia from the way the business operated, but Austin also saw how the WWF was capable of thriving without him. Stars like The Rock and Triple H didn't just do well while Austin was gone, they thrived as the company's top babyface and heel, respectively. Upon his return to the ring in late 2000, Austin was dead set on a character change. In his own words, Austin thought that the audience would grow tired of the same old Stone Cold character, running around, beating people up, and drinking beer. I know it sounds ridiculous now to think people would ever get tired of Stone Cold, but this level of insecurity haunted other top stars like Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan. Vince McMahon, and especially Jim Ross, tried effortlessly to talk Austin out of going forward with the heel turn, to no avail. Jim Ross has told the story of these meetings with Austin several times. He pretty much told Austin that him turning heel was the stupidest thing he could ever do for his career. Ross saw things a lot clearer from his perspective. He knows how hard it is to get over as a good babyface in wrestling. And in the late 90s, it was even harder to be a babyface. The culture was brash, much like Austin. To be honest, Austin was already a heel too. Think about it. He drank beer, flipped the bird, and beat up his boss. Austin was a badass that fit his time period perfectly. Absolutely no one was tired of seeing the old rattlesnake. As a matter of fact, they missed him since he had been gone for a whole year. Anyways, fast forward to the ending of WrestleMania 17. The still shot of Stone Cold and Mr. McMahon shaking hands to close the show is one of those photos. You know, those photos that just make you feel all weird inside after looking at them. It just felt off. I imagine it did at least. My brother was a young adult at the time, and he has provided me with such insight as someone who watched WrestleMania 17 live. Austin and McMahon, they just were not meant to be on the same side. In the matter of seconds, Austin went from being this unique badass to just another wrestler. He had gone corporate. The one man who wrestling fans knew for certain would never go white collar did just that. I speculate that millions of people have not watched a minute of wrestling in their lives since that very moment. Now, let's theorize further about just how Austin's heel turn ruined wrestling, at least for the 20 years following it. Realistically, it has taken WWE over 20 years to recover from the shockwave Austin's botched heel run sent throughout the industry. Stone Cold was front and center, leading the charge, which made WWE a household name in sports and entertainment, right next to the likes of the NFL and South Park. Statistics back this theory up in the short term, as WrestleMania 18's buy rate dipped below 1,880,000. The Raw after Mania 17 drew a 5.7 rating, while the Raw after Mania 18 did a 5.4. Not a huge difference between those two shows. However, the year-over-year numbers present a substantial downturn in interest levels. For the calendar year of 2001, WWF Raw is War drew a 5.0 rating or better 16 times. Meanwhile, the WWE only reached a 5.0 twice throughout 2002. Some may argue that part of this decline was due to WCW's closure and the coolness of the Monday Night Wars wearing off. This may be slightly true, but there is little doubt in my mind that this decline is due in large part to Austin's heel turn. People just did not want to boo Austin. One particular image from Austin's heel run that is forever etched into my memory is that of the Bionic Redneck, Stone Cold Steve Austin, wearing a cowboy hat, looking at Kurt Angle, an Olympic gold medalist, wearing a cowboy hat fit for a child. In wrestling folklore, sure, this is a good segment, which shows each man's versatility as performers. However, to people who enjoyed watching Stone Cold be a badass, this likely came off as amateur. Steve Austin was the toughest SOB to ever lace up a pair of boots. And now, here he is singing Kumbaya with an Olympic gold medalist for our entertainment. Emotion is a topic I'd like to zoom in on for a moment, particularly feeling. Austin did not feel larger than life anymore during his heel run. He felt like just another guy on a wrestling show. Maybe that is what Vince McMahon wanted, since The Rock was abandoning him for Hollywood. Seemingly, Vince did not like when a superstar became bigger than the WWE. Look at CM Punk. He is a prime example of this. As soon as Punk got over huge as a babyface by standing out with his unique work, WWE put the clamps on that by turning him heel. Much like Austin, Punk felt like just another wrestler mere weeks after the pipe bomb, and even more so when he turned heel on The Rock during Raw 1000. And like I said, these moments are good and remembered fondly by wrestling fans. But man, WWE had a major opportunity at hand with Punk to create a massive mainstream superstar. Anyways, back to Austin. Now that I've shown you massive decline in interest in WWE during the short term, we can look into what WWE has done to climb out of the hole Austin's heel turn dug them into. Austin's heel turn is not solely responsible for the decline in wrestling throughout the 2000s and 2010s. This, coupled with the Montreal Screwjob, Chris Benoit's death, and some other factors have contributed to this decline. Benoit's death, due to his involvement in the Attitude Era, has made it challenging for WWE to present its boom period to casual or non-wrestling fans in the years since, meaning that it's increasingly difficult to expose Austin to a newer audience. I have made videos about how the Montreal Screwjob and Benoit's death ruined wrestling if you'd like to hear more on those topics. Austin, after his heel turn, wrestled full-time for about a year. He infamously walked out of WWE in mid-2002 due to creative differences. only making his return for a short program and WrestleMania 19 match with The Rock. With Austin fully retired and reduced to an on-screen GM role before leaving WWE altogether in 2004, WWE struggled to make another star. By 2005, John Cena was that guy, and his run at the helm of WWE drove away just as many, if not more fans than it brought in. What Cena's run as a top guy did was change the wrestling audience. Instead of 18 to 35-year-olds watching and attending wrestling shows, arenas were packed by families. Cena did not do what Austin, Hogan, and even Roman Reigns did, and that's grow WWE's audience and business. However, Cena deserves massive credit for being the guy to lead WWE out of the PR nightmare caused by the Benoit situation. Cena is in a class of his own as a superstar, as he succeeded and thrived in perhaps the most difficult time to be a top star in wrestling ever. Fast forward 21 years after Austin's heel turn, now, thanks to Super Cena, pretty much everyone who was watching wrestling during Austin's heyday are no longer watching regularly or even at all. Cena is gone too, off to Hollywood, meaning that families are likely not that interested in watching wrestling either, as their kids are just watching some other things on TV. After Vince McMahon's sexual misconduct allegations became public, WWE, with its back against the wall, taps into an underserved market: international fans. Thanks to Roman Reigns and the Bloodline storyline, which could one day eclipse Austin McMahon as the single greatest storyline in WWE history, the WWE is now at or near its popularity when Austin was on top. Simply put, the American audience is not that into wrestling anymore after Austin's heel turn. This is glaringly obvious when, after a string of overseas PLE events, the WWE returned to America for SummerSlam last year in Detroit. The crowd was lousy and sat on its hands for the better part of the show. To recover from Austin's heel turn 23 years ago, WWE has had to take its brand global to regain its popularity and momentum. A show like King and Queen of the Ring 2024 would be perceived as a totally different show if it took place in front of a bored crowd in San Diego, California, for example. What will WWE do next when international crowds have fatigue and aren't setting record gates for every show anymore? That remains to be seen, but for now, that was why Austin's heel turn ruined wrestling. Thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you on the next one. Have a great day. Peace.